Welcome back to Built Fabrications. Today we're going to be doing some finish welding on Marty, our new C10 cab. Let me go ahead and get you guys in here and we'll take a look at what we're going to be doing today. So truth be told, this is actually my first time MIG welding. I've played around with stick welding a little bit in the past, but even saying that much is kind of a little bit of a stretch. So I did start welding some of the patches in here, or just really one of them, just to kind of play around a little bit. Struggling with my Chinesium welder that I'm using. If anybody wants to sponsor me with the good welder, I'll take it. But anyways, kind of fighting my welds between settings, as well as my spool is kind of getting hung up with the feed. So they're definitely not the best. I've been kind of blowing a little bit of holes and in certain areas, and other places are perfect tacks. But anyways, I'll get you guys in, show you. Take it easy on it, guy. I know all you YouTube welders, you're 20 years old, but you've been welding for 40. So, you know what I mean. But anyways, yeah, let me go ahead and show you what we're doing in here. So our main objective is to try to get some of the finish welding done on some of the patches that were already started by the previous owner before we had this cab, one of which being this floor pan right here. I did get it most of the way welded, finish welded. I still obviously have to prime it, and I got to grind off some of these other tacks. Filling in holes here, that's why it's all built up and nasty looking. So I got to knock that down, and I've also got a hole that blew through that I'm trying to build up and fill that back in. But so anyways, we need to get this finished the rest of the way. Got a couple little guys up here, filled that in. Working on finishing the rest of that one. Obviously still need to grind it. And we have the cab corners. Obviously this is old stuff. And then some of these other ones are newer tacks that I did, which, yeah, not great. But again, I don't know. I think it's also a mix of my ground. I've been moving it between here and some other places on the cab, and I think I'm still not getting a great ground on it. But we do need to get this finish welded. Again, you can see kind of blowing holes. But anyways, not going to do probably all the finish welding on the cab in this video, but we're certainly going to get started. Another goal that I want to do is I want to try to get these rockers popped off. Although they are new, it looks like certain things I'm going to have to walk around the cab, this door here, or I might be able to squeeze through. But anyways, looks like there's still a couple things underneath. Well, the video cut out when I was trying to squeeze under the door. But you can see right here, this obviously needs to be repaired, which really should have been done before this rocker was put on. And I don't know, it looks like there might be some other suspect things in there. Plus, we know we need to replace this cab support. And it's going to be best to have all this obviously built up and done correctly before we flip the cab on its back and get working on that. So anyways, you know, I think one of these, one side is pretty much fully welded. The other one's just kind of tacked on there, and it's not even welded on the bottom. But no big deal. I mean, these are kind of old anyways, and although they are new, they kind of got flash rust on them, and yeah, whatever. I mean, you can see, looks like I was already in here welding on this, but hopefully we can get it cleaned up, do a little bit better. So I'm gonna get working on this, get pretty much a time-lapse video going, and we'll see what we can come up with. Real quick before I get that video going and start working on things, I ran over here to the other side. I can kind of show you what we're working with over here. So we have this little tear in this side of the rocker, which honestly, it'd be easier to probably just throw on a new rocker as opposed to trying to fight that to repair it. Plus, you know, you're dealing with a little bit of this, and this isn't fully buttered up there the best. And this is the side that's, you can see, is just still, it's not tacked on anywhere on the bottom for the inner rocker. And you can see the front is kind of blown out and broken, cracked nastiness. So it's just best to get this popped off. We'll still obviously keep all this inner stuff. I also want to eventually, probably not in this video, but another one, kind of work all these seams. I don't want to have a, you know, real steep lip in the seam. Although, you know, we're not going to ever see any of this stuff again once we get carpet and sound deadening and all that on there. Just want to go the extra mile to kind of do it a little bit better to get that blended in. But anyways, let's get working on it. All right guys, so update. I got a lot of this stuff finished welded, or at least closed up. It still needs a lot of work. I need to come back through here and make a few passes. One area here that you can see that I'll get you in closer here in a minute. Whenever I got grinding on this was pretty closed up. I don't know if it was rust that was hidden or if there was just a bunch of weld that was globbed on there that whenever I started sanding on it, it just kind of blew out. I started trying to weld it to see if I could fill in this gap, but it'd be a ton of weld and be really nasty and boogery, and it just kind of blowing through. It got so thin. So I'm probably gonna have to come back in the future and I'll probably graft in a little piece of sheet metal to get this filled up. I didn't want to work this stuff too much because it's already getting kind of thin on me. And I'll get you around to the back corner too, on the back side here, to show you something else. So in hindsight, I probably would have liked to mess with these cab corners before I finished welding them a little bit, because whenever they were in, the lip was off where the new cab corner was in a little bit farther from the rest of the cab. And the problem that I'm running into with that is I've got a dip in the cab, and I don't want to keep on just welding it and then grinding it because to get it flat, because I'm gonna just wear away at the rest of the metal on the cab above and below where that seam is and just get really, really paper thin, which is gonna cause a bunch of problems. So I do have a stud welder that you can hook on like pretty much like a body hammer and pull it out. So I need to get in here and I'll put a couple of those tacks on the little studs and try to get that pulled out. And then obviously whenever we come back through, when we do the body work, we'll have to come in with a little bit of body filler and just smooth that out. Anywhere we have highs and lows, it's going to be part of that process. For the time being, I am going to put a little bit of primer on this just to keep it from flash rusting. You see behind me, I already got the floor hidden with a little bit of primer. So I'm going to do that for the rest of this as well. I'm going to get you kind of around a closer look and see some of the areas that we're looking at. And also, if you notice, I got the doors taken off the truck, and the next thing I'm going to do is get these rockers cut off, and we'll take a look at what's going on underneath. I can already see on the other side, this front A-pillar is, needing some love. So I'm definitely glad that we're going to be taking these off to address those issues. It's unfortunate that we have to take off new rockers. But again, like I had said previously, these were put on a long time ago and were never really coated. And so they're definitely kind of showing their age a little bit, especially never getting into any kind of paint or real primer besides just this black coating that comes from the factory whenever you get the patch panels in. So again, I'm going to bring you around, kind of show you the different points here on the cab that I was talking about. And then I'm going to get these rockers cut off, and then I will show you what's underneath. So this is the main area that I was talking about where you had that big dip. If you can see, just using my hand, which obviously isn't that much of a straight edge, you can see how much of a gap there is right here. I mean, you can see it just on camera alone. And there is a body line on the side that kind of goes like this, but whenever it transitions to the back, it's supposed to be just flat in line with everything here. So again, yeah, what I was trying to say is if I just welded in here and just kept on trying to grind top and bottom down to meet this seam, it would just make this paper thin and blow through, which would create its own set of issues. So what I'm going to try to do is use that stud welder. I have some body hammers that I tried kind of getting in this corner to pop it out a little bit, but just the way that is on the inside, there's really no good way to kind of get the hammer in there and be able to swing it. So I'll put a couple of studs on here in the future. Like I said, for now, I'm just going to get this in primer. We got it kind of welded up, and I'll get this popped out, and then obviously finish cleaning up all this whenever we cross that bridge and get that done. But I just don't want to keep hitting it with the sanding wheel, or especially not the grinder, until it's kind of taken care of. You know, and it's saying there's a little bit of highs and lows in here. It's nowhere near as bad as this one section is, you know, pretty severe there. I mean, you can see just with the light. But anyways, The rest of this is mostly done. There's a little bit of little pits in there, just highs and lows from welding. But again, we'll get that filled in. This is all done. The other area that I didn't touch is down here. I'm gonna have to get probably another patch. And there was a big hole in this previously, if you remember. And again, same kind of situation. There's a hole here too, and I was just starting to fill it in with weld and build it off of it, but it's just gonna be a ton of work and not that great to get that to be smoothed out and filled in. And same thing with this, plus you have the contour. I think it's just gonna be easier to come back in and cut out this little section and get a patch in there. So I'm trying to beat the rain. It's been raining the past few days, and it's gonna get pretty noisy in here. So I just wanna kind of walk you through before I take these rockers off. You can kind of see it's not too bad here. Obviously we have some weld that we would have to grind off, but this side's looking pretty decent. We got this in here that would have had to be addressed, but the reason I want to get this rocker taken off is because of this guy. We're going to need to get that fixed, and the only way to kind of get this fixed properly is to take this outer rocker off, which it's not the end of the world here. It's the other side that I'll walk over there and show you in a minute that, yeah, it's pretty nice. It's like barely on. This is that other side that I showed you, this tear. But the bigger thing, now that I have the door off, you can see it a lot better. I mean, it's, well, I guess it's off. So you can see that damn thing's ready to just pop right off. So I just need to cut this weld, but you can see a little sneak peek what's under there. Obviously we're gonna have to address that lower A-pillar arm there. And same kind of thing where that's needing some love, and that's kind of part of that whole system. So let me get these popped off on both sides, and then I'll get you guys back in here. We'll take a look at what we're gonna need to be doing. All right, well, we got the rockers off, and this is kind of what we're looking at. We see this front A-pillar, like we saw a little sneak peek of, is shot. So we're definitely gonna have to get this. I'm pretty sure that this piece here and this is where your fender bolts through. Pretty sure this comes as one piece, but I'll have to confirm that. I'll look at some patch kits. Coming over here to the other side, I don't know, it's looking a little suspect for me. Might be able to clean it up and make it work, but I might need to cut that out. But the thing that bothers me is that really the way that you would fix this properly is this would be done before the cab corner is done, which means that our new cab corner might need to come off, which super. So I don't know, I'll do some thinking on that and looking at it and see what I can come up with. You can see it's got some nuts on here where it should be bolted right now. Let me see if I could show you. It's just kind of floating on there, which is not good, not ideal for sure. So all this though looks pretty good. We can obviously definitely use that. I'll get this cleaned up, and before I get a new rocker put on here, I'm definitely gonna prime it. I'll walk over here and show you guys the other side. It's pretty similar to that. Probably not as bad, but still. Here, let me flip you around. All right. So we're looking at this side. I don't know, this almost looks like somebody tried to do a little homemade patch for this piece, which it's not that expensive. So I don't know why anybody would want to do that instead. But anyways, this side, this is obviously cracked. I mean, damn near could pull that off. But yep, so we'll get another patch for this side too. This is all looking pretty good. I'll get it sanded and get this primed so that we don't have any issues before I get this new rocker put on. This back piece here doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's got some surface stuff on here, but it's nice and solid. They did weld this to it so that it doesn't move like the other side. So I might be able to get away with it. I mean, I don't know, we'll see. I'll have to hit this with the sanding wheel and see if I can get it cleaned up to where I feel comfortable enough to use it. But again, that's gonna be whenever we cross that bridge, we'll make that decision. But I'll get a few patches ordered so we get working on getting these repairs. The first thing I wanna do is get this stuff here kind of fixed. And then I actually want to get this cab flipped on its back so I can see the braces. I know this one you could see would need to be replaced for sure. You know, and I think that it's probably gonna be most, if not all, these pieces are probably gonna have to get swapped out. And I want to get these on before I get our new rockers put on, the outer rockers put on this. Just because, again, this brace here, for example, is supposed to bolt through here. And I just want to kind of do this the right way. Like, again, on the other side, the right way would be to fix that correctly, would have been to fix that correctly, and might still be. Get that first inner patch done, then the cab corner. And that's the way that these trucks are, really, you know, all the vehicles. You kind of build out from the base. It's just like anything else. So if I just kind of shortcut it, which, you know, there are obviously some shortcuts that were done by whoever put these outer rockers and some of these patches in, where they're going, I guess, more for aesthetic than actual, I don't know, getting it done right, if you will. But, you know, I want this to last. I don't want this to be, you know, like a 10-year truck and then I'm looking at rockers again. So I want to do it right. So yeah, anyways, I think that's pretty much gonna just about wrap up this video. So I'll get some stuff ordered and we'll get back on this. So this is my first time using the MIG welder, like I said in the beginning of this video, and also my first time kind of doing any of this metal work. So definitely bear with me. The more that I do it, the better I'm gonna get, just naturally. Practice makes perfect. But if you guys have any advice, helpful advice, I'm definitely open to hear it. And yeah, so you guys get outside, get wrenching, piss off your neighbor, disappoint your mom, and until next time, keep on keeping on.